Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. First off, I want to start on the rail dispute. I want to make sure that everyone knows how grateful we are for all the hard work that people did on resolving this rail dispute. All parties involved, the minister stepped up. I think Canadians fully understand just how important it is to keep our economy rolling, keep making sure that families, workers, businesses are supported across the country, and that's where everyone came together and got this done. Tout d'abord, en ce qui concerne la dispute ferroviaire, je tiens à remercier toutes les parties pour leur travail acharné. Je pense que tous les Canadiens et Canadiennes comprennent à quel point il faut garder notre économie en santé, il faut livrer pour les travailleurs, pour les entreprises à travers le pays, les familles, et c'est pour ça qu'on est tellement content d'avoir vu une résolution à ce niveau-là. Moi-même, j'ai passé les 2 derniers mois à rencontrer des Canadiens et des Canadiennes d'un bord à l'autre du pays et beaucoup m'ont fait part de leur situation et de celle de leur famille. J'ai écouté les attentes des Canadiens, les besoins. J'ai réfléchi à comment mon gouvernement et moi pouvons continuer de mieux soutenir les Canadiens. We worked hard throughout the summer, focused on getting the things we put into Budget 2024 done. That's what people across the country are counting on. They need support, they need help, they need investments, they need programs that are delivering for them in a way that responds to the challenges they're facing in their daily lives. So we unlocked tens of thousands of affordable housing units while streamlining the process to build more homes faster. We launched more affordable monthly mortgage payments. Pas plus tard que hier, nous avons annoncé les premiers terrains fédéraux qui seront loués et non vendus, idéalement, pour garantir la construction d'un plus grand nombre de logements abordables pour les Canadiens. Le régime des soins dentaires a déjà aidé plus d'1 demi-million de Canadiens auparavant non assurés à obtenir les soins dentaires qu'ils sont en droit de recevoir. We've been working hard on expanding $10 a day childcare across the country and getting a national school food program in place as soon as possible. Families are looking at back to school this week, and we need to make sure we're getting kids the best food possible as they're getting into that school year. But through negotiations over the summer, it's clear that some provinces are dragging their feet on these negotiations and throwing up roadblocks. You'd think we can all agree that Canadian families deserve affordable childcare and that every child should have good food available to them at school. But if you listen to Pierre Poilievre and his Conservatives, that would be wacko. Well, we're going to continue to step up and deliver for families. Good food in kids' bellies at school means they can concentrate, but also means that takes pressure off families' grocery bills. So back to school is right around the corner, so my message to premiers is to work with us to get this done, and done fast. Kids need it, and families need it. 2 years ago, in the aftermath of the pandemic and facing severe labor shortages, we adjusted the program for temporary foreign workers. That's what the business community needed, that's what the business community was asking for, and at that moment in time, those changes helped. They helped the economy, and they helped businesses make it through a challenging moment in our economic recovery. But today's economy is very different from it was 2 years ago. Inflation has started to come down, employment is higher, and we no longer need as many temporary foreign workers. We need Canadian businesses to invest in training and technology and not increasing their reliance on low-cost foreign labor. It's not fair to Canadians struggling to find a good job, and it's not fair to those temporary foreign workers, some of whom are being mistreated and exploited. So I asked my minister to work on this over the summer, and we are taking action. We are tightening the rules and restricting eligibility to reduce the number of low-wage temporary foreign workers in Canada, with exceptions in certain industries like healthcare, construction, and food security. We'll also be looking at changes to the high-wage stream of the program as part of the minister's expedited 90-day review. So to those who would complain about worker shortages, here's my message. There is no better time to hire and invest in Canadian workers. Nous allons réduire l'utilisation du programme pour faire entrer des travailleurs étrangers temporaires faiblement rémunérés. Nous regardons également des modifications au volet des postes à haut salaire après que le ministre aura procédé à un examen accéléré, un délai de 90 jours. À ceux qui se plaignent de la pénurie de main-d'œuvre, voici mon message. Il n'y a pas de meilleur moment pour investir et pour embaucher des travailleurs canadiens. Over the summer, we saw inflation return to normal, and now interest rates are coming down. Our books are the envy of the developed world. Within the G7, Canada has the lowest deficit and the lowest net government debt. And in terms of foreign investment, we are top 3 in the world and number 1 per capita in the G20 for foreign direct investment. Companies around the world are taking an interest in investing in Canada to make things in Canada more than just about any other country. So today, we're taking yet another step to ensure that Canada is the country of choice to make the things that'll drive the new 21st century green economy. We're listening to automakers, we're listening to workers. Shortly, we will be introducing a 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles and a 25% tariff on Chinese steel and aluminum. Nous sommes à l'écoute des fabricants d'automobiles, nous sommes à l'écoute des travailleurs. Nous allons instaurer des droits de douane de 100% sur les véhicules électriques fabriqués en Chine et des droits de douane de 25% sur l'acier et l'aluminium provenant de la Chine. See, because of our government's choices and the hard work of hundreds of thousands of Canadian auto workers, we are transforming Canada's automotive sector to be a global leader in building the vehicles of tomorrow. But actors like China have chosen to give themselves an unfair advantage in the global marketplace, compromising the security of our critical industries and displacing dedicated Canadian autos and metal workers. So we're taking action to address that. We actually spent some time talking about that and many other geopolitical issues last night with Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor. Écoutez, en bout de ligne, notre choix sera toujours de construire et non de détruire. On va choisir des solutions et non des slogans. On va choisir l'action, non la colère. Nous nous retroussons les manches pour faire tout ce qui est en notre pouvoir à chaque jour pour se battre pour vous, les Canadiens. Now I'm happy to take some questions before getting back in there and getting to work. Thank you.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Kate McKenna from CBC. Members of your caucus have been calling for major changes, including potentially a cabinet shuffle or that you show some contrition since the Toronto St. Paul's by-election loss. Why have no changes been made, and will any changes be made?
We spent the summer out there talking with Canadians, talking with caucus members, talking with the team about what Canadians are focused on, what Canadians really need. And Canadians need support. Canadians need investments that are going to secure their jobs, their families. Canadians need investments that are going to deliver programs, whether it's school food, whether it's more places at $10 a day in childcare, whether it's protection of manufacturing jobs that we've been investing in over the years. That's what Canadians are focused on, and that's what we're delivering right now. Yes, there's, as you've seen, adjustments to certain programs. There's responsiveness to realities of the Canadian economy and help directly for Canadians, and we're going to stay focused on them.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau, Fanny Olivier de Radio-Canada. Avec votre décision d'imposer un arbitrage exécutoire, il y a des syndiqués qui vous accusent d'avoir créé un déséquilibre entre les forces patronales et syndicales. Est-ce qu'en voulant régler un problème à très court terme, vous n'avez pas ouvert une boîte de Pandore qui va avoir des répercussions sur les droits des travailleurs pendant des années? Et surtout, est-ce que cette décision-là remet en question votre entente avec le NPD?
Tout d'abord, nous avons démontré au cours des 9 dernières années à quel point nous sommes un partenaire avec les syndicats, que nous comprenons que de créer des bons emplois pour la classe moyenne, créer une économie forte qui fonctionne pour tout le monde, les syndicats et le travail doivent faire partie de la solution. Et on a bâti de très bonnes relations avec les syndicats à travers le pays parce que c'est bon pour les Canadiens, c'est bon pour notre économie. En même temps, nous devions d'agir dans cette situation où on parlait de 1 milliard de dollars perdus par jour et des impacts qui vont durer encore des semaines sur l'économie canadienne. Nous allons toujours faire tout ce qu'on peut pour s'assurer qu'il y ait une solution à la table de négociation, mais nous allons aussi agir quand on en a besoin et dans cette situation, il fallait qu'on agisse. Pour le NPD, on va continuer de travailler avec eux pour livrer sur des enjeux qui vont aider les Canadiens d'un bout à l'autre de ce pays.
Good morning, Prime Minister Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. You say that you plan to stay on despite persistently bad polling, despite the by-election loss in Toronto that your party lost for the first time in 3 decades because you want to continue to deliver. Isn't that what Joe Biden insisted on?
Listen, we are focused on being there for Canadians. We're focused on stepping up on support and investments that are going to leave Canadians better off for the coming years and indeed decades. Canada has built one of the strongest economies in the G7, in the world right now, because we've been there to invest in the middle class and people working hard to join it. We've been delivering on programs that have made a real difference in Canadians' lives. And right now, as people are facing challenges, we are setting the best balance sheet in the G7 to work for Canadians with $10 a day childcare spaces that allow families to go back to work, that allow people confidence that their kids are going to be well supported on their way into years of schooling. School food programs, dental programs that make a real difference in the daily lives of Canadians. These are things that actually meet the needs of the challenges Canadians are facing right now. And that's what we're focused on delivering right now and into the coming years.
But sir, you just made the Joe Biden argument that his record justifies him staying. The electorate is saying they don't want you. They want change. Your polling personally is worse than your party's.
I spent the summer talking with Canadians, and people's focus is on getting the support they need for their kids, for their future. They want to see a strong future for Canadians. They want to see opportunities for their kids. That's what we're working on every single day to deliver. That's what I'm focused on. That's what I'm excited about. And that's why we're going to go into this next election putting a very clear choice for Canadians. But we're still a year plus away from the election. I'm focused on making sure we're delivering through that election the kinds of things that Canadians need. That's what we're here for.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Michel Sabat, la presse canadienne. Je vais faire du chemin sur le sujet de ma collègue parce que nous aussi, on a parlé avec les Canadiens. Ils nous parlent aussi de ce qui se passe aux États-Unis et on a vu ce regain d'intérêt pour la campagne démocrate avec le départ de M. Biden. Est-ce que c'est de nature à pouvoir vous inspirer? Est-ce que c'est quelque chose qui vous trotte en tête?
J'ai énormément de respect pour Joe Biden. C'est un ami, c'est quelqu'un qui a démontré comment on peut bâtir une économie forte et préparer les générations pour un avenir fort, une économie forte. Nous sommes en train de faire un travail aussi important pour les Canadiens et nous avons même de l'avance sur les États-Unis au niveau des garderies, au niveau des investissements qu'on est en train de faire dans nos systèmes de santé, des investissements qu'on est en train de faire pour attirer des compagnies et des jobs ici au Canada pour l'économie de l'avenir. On est en train de faire un travail extrêmement important et j'ai hâte de continuer à présenter un choix positif aux Canadiens. On a un parti conservateur qui dit que tout est brisé, qui n'offre aucune solution, quand les Canadiens ont besoin d'aide, ont besoin d'investissement, veulent que le gouvernement soit là pour avancer les dossiers importants pour leur famille, et c'est exactement ce qu'on va continuer à faire.
Mais juste pour être clair, avez-vous l'impression qu'un départ de votre part pourrait avoir le même effet pour les libéraux?
Les États-Unis, c'est un pays très différent du Canada. La dynamique politique est différente, là. On est à plus qu'1 an des élections ici au Canada. Et le travail que nous faisons, je comprends que vous aimez bien parler politique. Les Canadiens, ça ne leur intéresse pas tellement de parler politique. Ils veulent parler de comment on va aider leur famille, comment on va avancer la réalité de tous les jours auxquels ils font face. Et c'est exactement sur ça qu'on se concentre aujourd'hui. Okay. The reality is Canadians are focused every day on making sure that they can afford their rent, making sure they can afford groceries, making sure there are good jobs for them, for their kids, making sure they have a good path towards retirement, making sure Canada remains strong and leading in the world in terms of economic growth, but also keeping people safe. These are the things that we are focused on. These are the things I'm going to continue to be focused on, and that's the work we're doing right here at this cabinet retreat to make sure that the programs we're putting forward, the way we're investing in Canadians, is right for the coming years and challenges.
Good morning, Prime Minister. JP Tasker from CBC News. Can I ask you about the immigrant unemployment rate? We're looking at about 11.6% right now, which is substantially higher than the overall unemployment rate. You mentioned some changes to the TFW program, but are you considering broader changes, maybe limiting immigration, permanent residents, other streams to kind of restore some balance to the labor market? Because as it stands right now, a lot of newcomers are out of a job.
These are ongoing conversations that we're having that we're taking extremely seriously. Obviously, over the past number of years, from the pandemic to the massive labor shortages immediately following the pandemic to the situation we're in now, we need to keep making sure we're responding to the needs both of Canadians, of businesses, and of the economy in general. And that's why we're constantly adjusting and making sure we're meeting the moment every step of the way. This fall, we'll be presenting for the first time an immigration's levels plan that doesn't just talk about permanent residents, but also talks about temporary residents, whether it's foreign workers or others. And we're making sure that the entire package makes as much sense as possible for the needs of Canadians and for the needs of our economy. That's why the first steps we're taking today of reducing the number of low-paid temporary foreign workers that can come work in this country is part of the response. Over the next 90 days, we'll be looking at the higher wage streams of temporary workers, and we'll be looking at unemployment rates and opportunities to make further adjustments over the course of this fall as we come forward with comprehensive level plans that'll respond to the reality that Canada's facing now and in years and decades to come.
Hi, Prime Minister. Brian Platt with Bloomberg. The tariffs you announced this morning on EVs and steel and aluminum largely bring you into line with the U.S., but the U.S. has also gone much further. Solar cells, chips, battery parts, critical minerals. Do you believe Canada will need to go further with its tariffs, and if so, why are you waiting?
As the minister will address later, we are looking at further measures. We're looking into, as you mentioned, chips, solar cells, issues like that, where we know there is work to be done to make sure we're protecting Canadian industries and Canadian workers from unfair practices from China. So we will continue to work with not just the United States, but allies in Europe and elsewhere around the world to make sure that those with similar approaches in terms of high labor standards, high environmental standards, proper processes to deliver high quality goods to Canadians and to customers around the world are not being unfairly penalized by non-market practices in countries like China.
Glenn McGregor, City News. Prime Minister, on the tariffs, it seems almost certain that China is going to retaliate in some way, very likely in the agricultural sector. I remember back in 2016 how hard your government worked to reopen China for canola exports. Are you concerned about the possibility of retaliation? Are you not, by protecting a fledgling industry in EVs, putting a much larger established industry at risk?
I think we all know that China is not playing by the same rules as other countries, whether it's on environmental standards, whether it's on labor standards and labor practices in general, whether it's on government subsidies and state-owned industries. The group of democracies of which we are a part that value the work that our citizens do, that recognize the need to protect the environment and invest for the longer term, requires us to take action. And what is important about this is we're doing it in alignment and in parallel with other economies around the world that recognize that this is a challenge that we are all facing, that unless we want to get in a race to the bottom, we have to stand up. And that's what we're doing, and that's what Canada's been part of conversations on at the G7 table, at the international summits that we've been attending over the past years to move forward on. We had a good, long conversation about this and other things last night with the National Security Advisor in the United States, and we know that standing up for Canadian jobs and Canadian interests, not just for the short term, but for the long term, is exactly what we need to do. And that means making sure the people who are doing things right, building things well, being responsible in how they function to build things, don't get penalized by countries not playing by those rules.
Mia Rabson from the Canadian Press. There are concerns, both from the NDP, from unions, that what you decided to do as a government last week is actually an assault on bargaining rights. Your government is suggesting that it's actually protecting more workers. But are you concerned that this will affect your agreement with the NDP, or also support from unions and union members?
As we've said consistently, the best results happen at the negotiating table. And that's why we've done everything in our power to continue to look for negotiated resolutions to not just this labor dispute, but labor disputes like it across the country. In this case, we needed to take action after talks had broken down, after the distances couldn't be bridged, because too many Canadian jobs and livelihoods were at stake. That's why we acted, but we will always be a partner to unions. We will always respect collective bargaining and make sure that that is, wherever possible, the only way things get resolved.
Hi, Mr. Trudeau. Mackenzie Gray with Global News. I just want to follow up on the answer that you gave to JP. You're saying you're taking a holistic approach when it comes to immigration, considering the number of temporary workers when you're looking at permanent residency. But just on PR, is your government considering reducing the number on an annual basis of people who can get PR in Canada?
Those are the discussions that we're having as a cabinet here and over the coming months, making sure that our immigration, which continues to be an extraordinary, important advantage that Canada has in the world, that contributes to growth, contributes to well-being of so many Canadians, continues to be the way we operate, but it has to be done right. So we're looking at the various streams to make sure that as we move forward, Canada remains a place that is positive in its support for immigration, but also responsible in the way we integrate and make sure there's pathways to success for everyone who comes to Canada.
A lot of your ministers, a lot of Canadians were watching closely the American campaigns this summer. I assume you were too. What lessons have you taken from watching what's happening south of the border in terms of your message about why you want to stick around for another 4 years?
I think the big lesson is in responding to the things that people are actually worried about. Responding with real solutions to the most pressing issues facing Canadians, whether it's the inability to find affordable childcare spaces for young families that mean that women primarily can't get back into the workforce when they want to and need to. Responding to the pressure of everyday grocery prices with a school food program that's going to help 400,000 more kids across the country if provinces across the country step up to do their part and help deliver that program. Now, there's a number of provinces that are moving forward on it. There are others that are not, and that's why we're putting pressure on them right now, because as a teacher, as a dad, as a prime minister, I know how important it is to give kids the best start in life. As we move forward on securing jobs and careers for the future, we have real concrete solutions to put forward that we have been delivering over the past years that has led to one of the strongest economies in the world right now in Canada. The decision to be there to invest in Canadians has left Canada with one of the strongest economies in the world at a very difficult time. And we believe that using that strong economy to support Canadians in responsible ways is the best way to build the future. That's what we're focused on. We're not focused on culture wars, on complaining that everything is broken, that, going off on strange tangents that, quite frankly, Canadians are scratching their heads about. That's not the way to connect with Canadians. That's not the way to deliver what Canadians are asking for. So we're going to stay focused on the work that needs doing over the next year as we approach the next election, to deliver for Canadians, to help people through, and to remind them why this is the very best country in the world.
You're implicitly acknowledging you've had trouble delivering results over the 9 years and getting things done out the door fast. So how are you going to change that in the next year?
Over the past 9 years, we have delivered the strongest economy in the G7. The top place in the world for per capita foreign direct investment when you look at all the advanced economies of the G20. Companies around the world are investing in Canada because of the things that we've done, whether it's protection for the environment, whether it's support for families, whether it's training up the very best workers in the world. Canada has one of the strongest economies in the world, and setting that economy to work for Canadian families, for Canadian seniors, for Canadian young people is the choice we're making and we will continue to make. Now, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are making a different choice of throwing up in their hands saying the strongest economy in the G7 is broken. And what we have to do is cut programs to Canadians, kill the dental program that has helped 500,000 Canadians access dental care. Ignore the school food program. Stop investing in EVs and the jobs of the future. Stop fighting climate change. Well, that's exactly the opposite choices that what I've heard from Canadians this summer, and that's why we're going to continue to step up and focus on delivering the things that matter for Canadians. Canada is a strong and smart country that knows where the future is going, and Canadians are doing the work to get there. And keeping that going is something that I know matters deeply to Canadians.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Olivier Boissé de TVA. Est-ce que Pablo Rodriguez vous a dit s'il restait ou s'il se lançait à la chefferie du PLQ? Et sinon, est-ce que vous lui demandez de se brancher rapidement?
Pablo va prendre ses propres décisions. Vous pourrez lui parler de ça. Mais pour l'instant, je me concentre sur le travail que nous avons tous à faire, incluant Pablo, sur des enjeux importants comme l'industrie ferroviaire, comme on a vu récemment, comme le travail qu'il fait comme lieutenant du Québec, le travail qu'il fait comme membre de notre équipe et un de mes bons amis qui va continuer de bien servir les Canadiens.
Parlant de travail, allez-vous dépenser beaucoup d'énergie à essayer de le retenir parce qu'on nous dit qu'il y aurait déjà un pied dans la porte au PLQ?
Écoutez, Pablo fait son travail ici pour notre gouvernement et je suis très content de l'avoir à mes côtés.
Bonjour, Mylène Crête de La Presse. Pour revenir sur les questions d'Olivier, qu'est-ce que vous lui avez dit à M. Rodriguez?
J'ai dit que j'apprécie toujours tout ce qu'il a à offrir en service. J'apprécie ses longues années de service. J'apprécie son amitié et que j'espère toujours qu'il va continuer de livrer pour les Canadiens. Je suis bien content de l'avoir à mes côtés.
Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire que votre lieutenant politique pour le Québec songe à se lancer sur la scène québécoise? Qu'est-ce que ça dit sur l'état d'esprit de vos troupes?
Ça dit des choses sur les réflexions sur le service continu que Pablo songe offrir aux citoyens, que ce soit au niveau fédéral ou ailleurs. Et ça dit pas grand-chose sur tout le monde. Tout le monde va faire leur propre choix. Mais moi, mon choix et le choix de la grande majorité de mon équipe sera toujours de livrer pour les Canadiens. Et c'est ce qu'on fait. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.